do you see the market 2000 and today versus when you first started?
Well, I think there's a big difference in that it's much more accessible to the beginning trader or to a new trader. When I started, you either had to be trading on the floor or you had to be somebody who had a lot of money.
Right.
And it's much easier for somebody who either isn't loaded or who doesn't have a lot of connections to sit in their house and make money as a trader now. Now, at the same time, the level of noise because of that is much higher than it used to be.
So what do you mean by noise? Yeah.
Well, I mean, random price fluctuations. So it's a little bit more difficult to make money trading, but your tools are a lot better. So I think in the end, it's probably the methods aren't quite as profitable when you trade as they once were.
The methods that you started learning or had learned 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Yeah, I think any methods.
Okay.
I think any methods that anybody has, if you could take yourself, however good a trader you are today, and you could put yourself back into the early 80s or the late 70s, you'd make more money then.
I agree. Wider spreads, less players, less liquidity, more confidence in placing the trades, less players. I agree. Yeah.
But at the same time, it would have been much harder at that point in time to acquire that level of skill.
I agree.
So I think for the beginning trader, it's actually a good time to trade, but you just can't expect to get the same level of returns that some of the traders were getting in those years.
Yeah, again, unless employing high levered trading, which is risky in itself, I agree with you. Getting triple digit returns, a la John Paulson, is going to be very difficult in this market without sizable capital and making, sizable come bets, if you will, on events, black swan events and those types of things. I agree with you. Trading per se, although volatility is high, I find it muted. I find it a very interesting market. I find, almost all assets are correlated together, at least right now, and they have been the past 4 or 5 years. You've got everything kind of moving in concert. You got any comments on that?
Well, I think that's pretty interesting. There's actually quite a bit of risk that still exists, I think, in our financial system that we haven't got rid of because of that phenomenon. People have this idea that diversification fixes everything, but I think there's way more correlation than anyone understands. And I think price is almost entirely psychological.
Right.
So there doesn't need to be any fundamental reason why things are the way they are. As long as people believe a certain way, their perception of price is all that matters.
Well, you watched last fall when the indexes were falling and even the safety plays of bonds and gold were crashing. So I mean, again, it's a very fine depiction. So let me ask you, how about your faith and decision making? Then have you lost it? Does that change with your wisdom over time? I mean, do you look at markets differently today than you would have even with the knowledge you had? Again, we're kind of doing this, if I could go back in time thing. But does wisdom change the way you operate as a trader now? I mean, are you scared more? Does that factor into your lack of faith, or does your faith increase? Where are you there on that scale?
No, I'm much more confident as a trader because one of the things I did in the last 7 years is I built a sophisticated backtesting system that is now a commercial product and has been for 4 or 5 years. And it helped me do a lot more research and ask a lot more what-if questions about how a market works and what causes what and what affects what and how you might be able to extract some money out of the markets. So I'm much more confident that I understand how the markets work today than I was as a trader in my early 20s.
Do you think there is, rock solid ways to take money out of the market? Is there holy grails out there, or do you think it's, they work for a while and they stop and you got to kind of figure out when that point is?
Well, the long-term stuff will always work, but it goes through these cycles of working for a while and not working for a while. So you could look at that as either a failure that happens every once in a while, or you could look at it as just part of the way long-term trend following works. I don't trade that way anymore. I find that to be boring. So I do swing trading now. I find it suits my lifestyle a lot better. I can be trading for a couple of weeks and then not trade for a couple of months.
Right. And
Whereas you can't do that.
Are you trading all assets? I mean, again, you kind of across all classes at this point?
I trade stocks and futures at this point. Don't really trade much in the way of options.
Okay.
But not because there's anything wrong with it. I just never spent the time to get good at it.